Today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
I never planned on hurting my sister. I just wanted my needs met.
You molested me, and that's not the way to go about it.
He has a disturbing history.
He's not had treatment. Nothing has happened since he's offended in the past. Why would he not offend in the future?
His sister says he's still a danger.
You made the decision to hurt me.
If she's uncomfortable with me, then tell me to stay the hell away.
She loves her brother and hates what he did. So, Mr. Know-It-All, you need to learn something that you don't know.
I don't think I'm a know-it-all at all.
Well, your arrogance is unbelievable. I can tell you this. You are sitting next to a predator. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today is going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Well, 17-year-old Addison says her 18-year-old brother Colin is selfish, arrogant, and has molested multiple people, including her, on 2 separate occasions. Once when she was 11 years old, and the second time when she was 13. Now, after it happened, Addison says her parents never called the police and did absolutely nothing to protect her. Colin claims his mother is partially to blame because he knew she would do nothing about it.
My brother Colin molested me twice when I was 11 and 13. The first time, I can't remember what happened, and I think maybe if I did remember it, it would be too painful. I was angry at my mom. She didn't call the police. She didn't do anything to make sure that it wouldn't happen again. The second time Colin molested me, I was 13. I had taken a shower and went in the living room to watch TV, and I had fallen asleep with the towel still on. And when I woke up, my towel was on the floor and I was naked. He was naked from the waist down. I thought, like, oh my God, here we go again. Like, how did this happen again? I didn't understand it, and I was angry, not only at my brother, but I was also angry at my parents. I feel like my parents didn't protect me. I didn't really care what happened to him. I just didn't want him around me anymore. My brother Colin was in the custody county for 3 years, and he went to 4 different group homes. My brother never finished a sex offender program. He was okay with what he did and who he was. I think that Colin is a danger to others. I definitely still consider him a sexual predator. My biggest concern is that he will sexually assault somebody else.
Tell me what you want to see happen today.
I want to see Colin get the help that he needs, and because he never really got that, and I just want to feel I want to feel comfortable around my brother, and I want to feel like he is not going to be a danger to other little girls out there.
And how about yourself? You say you want help for him. How are you doing with this?
It's definitely been hard. I just want to be able to feel comfortable being around him.
So you went, when this first happened, you were how old, 11?
11.
He touched you inappropriately while you were asleep.
Right.
So you tell your mother, and take me through that moment. This has happened to you, and you muster up the courage to go tell your mother. Take me through that moment when you told your mother about this. Was it scary for you?
It wasn't really scary for me to tell her. I was more just kind of confused and like disoriented, like what just happened.
And what came of it?
Nothing. I mean, she had called a counselor and tried to get him some counseling, but that didn't really happen.
So you just continued living together?
Right.
He'd be in the same room with you, same dinner table, same couch, watching TV, whatever?
Yeah.
Did he ever say anything to you about it?
No.
Okay. You built up resentment right away.
Definitely, yeah.
To your parents. What did you want them to do?
Well, I wanted them to put me first, and I don't feel like they did that. they let him, you know, just go back to normal. I mean, and this is gonna sound crazy, but they didn't even like ground him. Like life just went back to like normal, completely normal.
Mm-hmm. How did that make you feel about yourself?
It made me feel like I wasn't as important as my brother.
It happens a second time, and you're 13 now. You go to your mother again, and she says what? How
did this happen again? I don't understand. So she was confused, she was angry again, but then again, how angry can you be? I mean, you're partly to blame because you didn't do anything in the first place to protect me.
Had you learned of any other victims along this time frame, or did you learn about them later?
When we were younger, I remember that he did molest a young girl.
The parents came and wanted to confront the situation, right? And your mother knew it had happened,
right,
but she denied it.
Yeah. She, I think in her mind, it was like it was her son. She wanted to defend his honor, but at the same time, I mean, he scarred these girls for life. He took away their innocence just like he did mine.
How did CPS get involved? Child Protective Services.
CPS got involved when she finally took him to that counselor. They said, we have to call CPS, and they're probably going to remove him from the home. So it all happened within one day. I mean, that morning he went to the counselor, and by the end of the day, we were separated.
So that counselor was triggered at that point, called CPS, and they came out and did an investigation, a home study, and said one of the two of you had to get out of the house.
Right.
Were you glad to see him go?
It was hard because, I mean, at the same time, I was angry, but he was my brother, and that had been my entire life, was, you know, all of us together. But at the same time, I was like, wow, finally somebody cared enough to do something.
Yeah. I really never like to put a victim and their molester together unless you're okay with it. And if you're okay with it and you feel safe emotionally in that regard, then I'll do it. But I will not do it without your permission.
Yeah.
Are you okay to be in his presence today?
Yeah, I am.
We're going to take a break, and we'll meet Addison's mother and find out why she did not call the police, why she did not get him into a program, why she did not follow up with counseling after her daughter was molested not once but twice by her own brother.
The first time Colin molested my daughter, I didn't call the police. I did take him to a counselor. When Colin molested Addison the second time, I yelled at him.
And later, what goes through your mind at that moment?
I just wanted my needs met. Didn't really feel wrong. Felt right for me.
I'm disgusted. We're brother and sister.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil. A desperate search.
Can I speak to you for a second?
For a missing teen.
Is she in your apartment?
Her parents are divorced and divisive.
Janet's a terrible mother.
I pulled myself away from trying to involve him.
By moving further and further away from me.
She's disappeared before.
Your daughter has been rescued from a prostitution ring and you're not there when she gets back?
No, I wasn't.
Are they to blame for their runaway child?
This girl would rather run away than stay in this environment controlled by the two of you.
That's tomorrow.
Colin still makes me feel uncomfortable. He'll stare at my chest. He's stared at me while I was sleeping before. Colin has come up behind me and just kind of smell my hair. He'll say that I smell good or smell feminine. When Colin is over at my house, I lock my bedroom door when I'm sleeping. There's a part of me that will never trust him.
Addison says she resents her mother, Kimberly, for not protecting her from her own brother. Now, Kimberly admits she did not call the police. Instead, she says she yelled at her son, took away his electronics for a month, and sent him to 1 or 2 counseling sessions. Take a look.
I am afraid that Colin could offend again. Colin had molested before. He molested two younger girls. The first one, he was 9, and the second one, he was 12. The first time Colin molested my daughter, I didn't call the police. I did take him to a counselor. The counselor wanted him to see a psychiatrist to put him on medicine. So I pulled him out of there, and I didn't take him back, and I didn't take him to see anybody else. When Colin molested Addison the second time, I couldn't believe that he did it again. I yelled at him, but at that point, he was taken to a counselor again, which was a mandated reporter, and they called social services, and he was removed from the home. He was gone for 3 years, and he went to 4 different group homes, but he didn't finish a program for sexual offenders. He turned 18, and he was emancipated, and now he lives with his dad. Colin stays at my house maybe once or twice a month. At one point, Colin watched pornography, and it was sons with their mothers. My greatest fear for Colin is that I would end up having to go see him in prison, and he would forever be called a sexual offender.
Kimberly, I'm glad you're here. You've been listening to my conversation.
Yes, I have.
With your daughter.
I feel sick about not doing enough.
What would you do differently if you had this to do over again?
If I had it to do over again, the first time I would have called the police, and I would have had Colin put out of the house or whatever had to be done. I would have done that. I'm so sorry. I love you so much, and I would put you first.
Love you too.
It happened a second time, and I want to look at how you dealt with it at the time. Now, this is according to Colin. People came to your door, and you denied that Colin had touched their 5-year-old when the police called, and he had confessed it to you. You knew he did, but you denied it.
That's incorrect.
Well, that's what he says.
Okay, Colin, that's what he says, but what happened was this little girl's mother came and told me that Colin had pulled her pants down. So she called the police. The police came, and I invited them in, and they came in, and Colin and I sat on the couch together, and he questioned Colin. Mm-hmm. Colin was approximately 9 years old at that time.
Mm-hmm. And it was denied, correct?
No. I told him that he did it. But the man, the officer looked at me and he said, does your son have problems? Because he has ADHD and some other diagnoses, but I just said yes. And then his father got home. The police were still there, and he made the police leave. My husband at the time.
He says you grounded him for 1 week from TV and a year from his tablet, and he attended a counseling session 2 months after he touched a 6-year-old. That he did go to counseling, that he was grounded for 1 to 2 months from electronics and attended 1 counseling session after he touched his sister for the first time.
Yeah, Colin has a different memory than I do about this.
What's not up there is getting him help.
Right.
In a sustained sort of way. And in fact, you said you took him to 1 counselor and you pulled him out because they wanted to put him on medication.
This is true. After 2 sessions, yes, that's true.
What do you have expertise in the treatment of these things?
No, I don't.
Why would you second guess?
I've been diagnosed with bipolar, and they said that he was bipolar, and I don't know. At that time, like I said, I wasn't in my right mind. We're
going to meet Kimberly's son and find out why he says his mother is partially to blame for him touching his sister, not once but twice, and for him molesting children. You need to hear this. We'll be right back.
My sister was asleep on the couch. I just remember going out there being like, oh, okay. And then I started touching her. I was willing to do anything to get it.
And later, you are sitting next to a predator.
I did not know the other 2 children that he molested.
I'm deeply disturbed and concerned for him.
This May, there are 1,000 reasons to watch.
You shove a fish sandwich in your mother's mouth?
I threw a pizza at her, too.
America's #1 daytime talk show.
She's stealing, stripping, breaking into cars.
She told me she wouldn't do that.
Where did you think she was getting the money?
The stories are true.
When I was 11, my dad had custody of me. He manipulated me into sex and the wifely duties.
Did you fight for your children?
I did.
No, you didn't. You said, I'll see.
Done.
No, you're not done. Your daughter is here. Don't you throw your hands up and walk out on her again. Did you pick her up in carpool drunk?
I did not.
You mowed down 3 neighbors' mailboxes. It's time for you to grow up, lady. Look me in the eye and say, I am sick to death of this crap, or you get off of my stage.
I want people to know that Colin is a master manipulator, that he will say anything or even do anything to try and get out of really facing up to his actions. Now that he is 18, he's free to do whatever he wants. He can roam the streets, he can go to parks. I have a fear that he will prey on a younger girl who's more vulnerable.
Now, Kimberly and her daughter Addison say they both believe that her son Colin will reoffend, even though he was enrolled in several sex offender programs. They say he never took them seriously. He refused to work towards rehabilitation. He didn't finish anything. He's never finished one of them. Colin says he's only made it through 12% of his treatment and planned to just age out of the system, and then he wouldn't have to do anything. And we're going to hear from him now. He does talk about some of his violation of you in somewhat graphic terms. We've edited it down as much as possible. Are you okay with us playing this?
Yeah.
I just want to be sure.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
I molested my sister twice. The first time, she had fallen asleep on the couch, and I had just gotten done watching pornography, and I just remember going out there being like, oh, okay. And then I started touching her. 20 minutes in, I tried to have sex with her, but it didn't work. I tried again, didn't work, so I just gave up and continued touching her. Maybe 30 minutes into it, something told me, hey, this isn't right, you shouldn't be doing this. This is your sister. It's like the other half of my brain just said, oh, who cares? I want what I want, and I'm gonna get what I want. Second time, it was about the same thing, and I had that uncontrollable desire for sex, and I was willing to do anything or hurt anybody to get it, and I didn't care. My sister was asleep on the couch, so I went in there, and I was feeling over her clothes, and I reached my hand down her pants, and I took it one step further and reached my hand down her panties, and then I proceeded to take her jeans off and her underwear. It feels like you're a totally different person, like you can't really stop what you're doing. Almost like you don't have control over yourself. And it's really scary.
You don't deny now molesting your sister on 2 occasions, correct?
No, I do not.
And you don't deny inappropriately touching children in the neighborhood?
No, I do not.
Okay. You've had opportunities to go through treatment programs and complete those programs and work towards rehabilitation, and you have not completed one of them, not at any time. In fact, you said you've completed 12% of one program.
Yeah.
If you recognize this and you own it and acknowledge it, why have you not completed any of these programs?
I was just lazy.
So tell me what goes through your mind when you touch your sister or you touch a child. What goes through your mind at that moment?
I just wasn't really thinking about anything other than sex. I just wanted my needs met, and I realized that it was wrong now, but at the time, it didn't really feel wrong. It felt right for me, but I realize now that that was messed up, what I did. And
well, based on your recounting, we've put together a list of your sexual offenses. You touched a 5-year-old girl when you were 9, touched a 6-year-old girl when you were 12, touched your sister when she was 11 and you were 13, touched your mother's breast several times when you were 13, touched your sister when she was 13 and you were 14.
No, I never touched my mother's breasts.
You'd be sitting by me on the couch, and I'd have my arm around you, and you would poke my breast, and then you would say, "Whoops, Mom."
How do you feel about what you've done to your sister?
I feel terrible about it. I never planned on hurting my sister. I love my sister. I apologize. Like, the letter that I wrote you, maybe you didn't find it sincere, but I put a lot of time and effort into that. I probably spent about 3 days writing that. And my dad says that it took me 3 days because I was lazy. No, it took me 3 days because I really wanted to pour my heart and emotion into it.
I don't think that it was as sincere as you say it is, because how can you look at a family member and just be okay with hurting them just to meet your own needs because you are that selfish? It was your selfishness that made you do all those things.
Have you ever told him how you feel about it? What have you told him?
I've told him that I'm just still so angry and confused and disgusted at the fact that he took advantage of me twice. And I mean, we're brother and sister. It was unbelievable that he could look at me and think those things. I just can't stand to look at him when I think about what he did.
When the kids were younger, a teenager, I know that he raped Colin on more than one occasion, and I know that that's part of his problem. He started out as a victim, but he's a perpetrator now.
You called the police when that happened, I assume?
Yes.
And was he prosecuted?
No.
Kimberly says her ex-husband is partially to blame for Colin's early sexual awareness. We'll meet Kimberly's ex and find out what he has to say about all this when we come back.
I do not think Colin is a danger to Addison or anyone else. I have faith in my son that any sexual deviances that he has are no longer there.
Kimberly says her ex-husband Jim is partially to blame for their son Colin expressing his sexual desires the wrong way. But Jim says the fault lies with his ex-wife, who always said everything would be fine whenever their son did anything wrong. He says Kimberly even brushed everything under the rug after their daughter was molested by their son 2 times.
Kimberly is partially to blame for Colin molesting Addison because there is no discipline in her household. Colin knew that he would have no consequences for his action and no punishment, and it's always been that way. When Colin would make a mistake or do something wrong, His mother would pat him on the back and tell him everything's going to be okay. The biggest mistake we made was not contacting the authorities or children's services after the first time he offended. I left the decision up to his mother because he was in his mother's custody at the time. I have no idea why she didn't call the police. My opinion is that Colin will not reoffend. I have faith in my son that any sexual deviances that he has are no longer there. I do not think Colin is a danger to Addison or anyone else.
Jim, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
You say that you're comfortable and confident that your son will not reoffend in the future. What do you base that on?
It's just like a gut feeling that I have that he has outgrown that phase of his life, that it was, I don't want to say it was a curiosity, but that because obviously it has caused a great deal of strife and turmoil in our immediate family.
Do you want to know what I think?
Yeah.
Because I understand your gut feeling.
Sure.
But I've been in this mental health profession for 45 years.
Yes, sir.
And I can quote you research, longitudinal research, epidemiological research.
Yes, sir.
That tells you he's about as high a risk for reoffense as I've ever met.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because he has an attitude of entitlement, narcissism, and no ownership. Yes. Because he's never been held to account for what he's done, so why in the hell would he change what he's doing? He's never had consequence to what he's done.
Yeah, I understand what you're, I understand everything you just said. He has expressed, remorse to his sister and to everybody else for what he's done. I did not know or realize about the other two children that he molested.
Well, let me tell you, for every rat you see, there's 50 you don't.
I understand.
So...
That is so untrue. You totally knew. You knew when he molested and the police came and you got angry when that the police were there and you made them leave. But they came in and talked to Colin. So you absolutely knew that.
Okay.
Do you think you know about every time he has ever offended?
No, I don't. And I'll tell you something. When he said what he did to Addison, I'm sitting here, this is the first time I heard it. Because the second time it happened, he said, I didn't know what he had actually done. All I knew was he had pulled her pants down, and then she woke up and came back to me. So, see, that's what he told me, and that was totally untrue. So, no, I'm deeply, deeply disturbed and concerned for him.
Well, the truth is that he has an elevated risk of offending as an adult because he offended as a child and did not get treatment anywhere along the way.
I was told in the last treatment center or the last residential center that he was in that he had completed like 35%, not 12%.
Jim, come on. Let's say you got a gash in your leg and I sew up a third of it.
Yeah.
Are you done? Are you done if I sew up a third of it?
No.
Come on, you gotta complete things.
I understand.
He's not had treatment here. Addison says she is afraid of her brother because he is showing signs that he is going to reoffend. I want to know what she's talking about when we come back. You walked in on your father cross-dressing.
Saw my dad sitting there in the red dress. He was watching pornography.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil, a desperate search.
Can I speak to you for a second?
For a missing teen.
Is she in your apartment?
Her parents are divorced and divisive.
Janet's a terrible mother.
I pulled myself away from trying to involve him.
By moving further and further away from me.
She's disappeared before.
Your daughter has been rescued from a prostitution ring and you're not there when she gets back?
No, I wasn't.
Are they to blame for their runaway child?
This girl would rather run away than stay in this environment controlled by the two of you.
That's tomorrow.
Colin saw pornography growing up. His father was addicted to pornography and actually cross-dressed in our home. One time, my son had gotten up early in the morning and he saw his father dressed up in women's lingerie and viewing pornography.
Well, Kimberly says her son Colin claims to be rehabilitated even though he never completed a single sex offender treatment program. Addison says he is even showing signs that he may molest again. What are the signs you're seeing?
We were sitting in the car and he came up behind me and smelled my hair, and he stares at my chest sometimes. Sometimes I'll look over and he'll just be staring at me. And he makes me very uncomfortable. It's just red flags.
Another thing too is that he's viewing pornography again.
I'm 18.
But you live with your dad. So
I'm 18, so it's okay for me to look at porn after I've molested over and over again. That's fine. That's not fine.
I'm 18. I'm trying to get my needs met in my own way.
Okay.
I get that.
You tried to get your own needs met in your own way when you molested me, and that's not the way to go about it.
I know, and I apologize for that. But watching pornography, I get that it's wrong. It helps me to stop and control my urges.
Maybe if you would have gotten the treatment that you needed and you wouldn't have been so lazy, maybe you would already have that.
I already do have that.
How early in life were you exposed to pornography?
When I was 7 years old, I found my dad's first pornography tape in the chest in a basement.
Mm-hmm. And how old were you when you walked in on your father cross-dressing?
I think I was 8 years old. I remember waking up early in the morning. It was probably the first day that I had actually waken up on my own. And I walked out into the living room and I saw my dad sitting there in a dress. I think it was a red dress, and he was watching pornography.
Did you take measures to shield him from pornography?
I thought I did.
Why is it okay for him to visit your home with your daughter there when he has molested her, when he has victimized her?
I would ask her, is it okay if your brother spends the night? Because she spends the night at her dad's house, and Colin is there as well. Mm-hmm. And
but why is that okay in this family unit here?
It's not going to be okay at all anymore. It's not going to be okay. It won't. It won't. I mean, one thing this show is helping me to do is to really open my eyes and see I haven't protected her. And even now, even with everything that's gone on, I still let him in my house. And I'm sorry. And I will do better. I will be a better mother.
Well, let me ask you about impulse.
Yeah.
Do you think that you have an irresistible impulse, or do you think you have an impulse not resisted? An irresistible impulse where you have no control, or an impulse you choose not to resist?
I think that I have irresistible impulses, because I can resist impulses. Like if I have an impulse to watch pornography, I can resist that. But it's like I'm a different person, or I was a different person when I was doing these things.
Well, you're contradicting yourself. Addison says she wants to feel safe again, but she often feels uncomfortable around men. I'm going to talk to her about that next. If you're going to be in the Los Angeles area and you want to watch a live studio taping of the Dr. Phil Show, go to drphil.com for free tickets or call 323-461-PHIL. That's 323-461-7445.
I don't feel like I have anger issues. It takes a lot to set me off, but once you set me off, all hell will break loose. The worst thing I did in the group home was went into a manic episode. I was out in the parking lot destroying cars. I completely torn down a Jeep. I torn the gas caps off at least 10 cars. I broke a couple windows of the building. I broke somebody's finger. Sometimes I feel like the Hulk. I'm invincible. I can do anything and get away with it. I feel like I could kill somebody and get away with it.
When he offends against her and you don't do anything decisive, it tells him that it's okay, and it tells her that she's not of value. Now, that's a very toxic situation.
Yes.
He even says he does it in part because he knows nothing's going to happen, that he's going to get away with it. And it says to her, I'm of no value. And victims of sexual molestation, if you don't get the help that you need, the risk of you being victimized again is as much as 1,000% more than the general population. As much as 1,000% more. Because you define yourself in a different way and you conduct yourself in a different way. You accept different things. And that just can't happen. So what you're talking about here that happened between a brother and a sister in their preteens is not something that had a beginning and an end. It's still going on today. And for her to have to sit at a dinner table with the individual that molested her and pretend that nothing ever happened is absolutely absurd and ridiculous and cannot go on.
Wait. Okay, so Addison keeps saying that she's uncomfortable around me. But when I'm over at my mom's house, when she's at my dad's house, she asks me to hang out with her all the time. And I don't understand that. If she's uncomfortable with me, then tell me to stay the hell away.
She is damaged. And she is confused. She loves her brother and hates what he did. So, Mr. Know-it-all, you need to start pulling your head out and learn something that you don't know.
I don't think I'm a know-it-all at all.
Well, your arrogance is unbelievable. You're going to lecture her about what she does being inconsistent? Seriously? I don't think so. But I will give you the answer. She loves her brother. She hates what he did. That is not inconsistent. Want to know what's coming up on Dr. Phil? Visit our website and subscribe to our email newsletter. You'll get weekly updates, life strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today.
I can tell you this. You are sitting next to a predator. And until he does what he needs to do, and here's the thing. Let me tell you, even a short-term treatment program, preteen, would have had a profound effect on him. But he didn't get it. He still can go through a very structured treatment program and reduce the likelihood of his reoffending 95%.
I realize that I hurt my sister, and that hurts me. I have nights where I sit and cry over this. I feel so terrible about what I did that some days I just want to take a gun and blow my brains out. It's that hard. And it's like nobody sees that.
But you did it in the first place, so you can't really say people should feel bad for me because I really feel bad. No, you made... Okay, no. Stop. You made the decision to hurt me. You made the decision to hurt other people, and you need to live with that guilt because that was your fault.
What I'm telling you is treatment is available for you. I would predict a good outcome for you. You're smart.
Thank you.
And you can use that intellect to your benefit if you'll do the program. And I will pick the program, and I will put you in it if you're willing to do the work.
I'm sorry, sir, but I'm gonna have to decline your offer.
Do you hear what he's telling you? He's telling you that you will reoffend.
Mom.
He said your chances of it. This is Dr. Phil. I'm the one that wrote the show because you needed help, and you've got to take this. Please. Please.
You told me you wouldn't accept help because you don't want to go away from home because
I understand that you were away from home for 3 years. I get that.
But that was your fault that you were away from home for 3 years.
I'm not going to Texas or Alabama or Arizona. I want to stay where we live. I have a life. I have a girlfriend.
I'd like to thank all of my guests today.
Please.
And we'll see you next time.
Mom, stop begging me. I'm really pissed off right now. I'm so frustrated that my mom wants to beg me to do something, and she doesn't control me. I'm my own person. And if Dr. Phil wants to give me an outpatient program, I am more than willing to accept his help. I don't want to hurt anybody. I didn't want to hurt anybody to begin with. When I get those thoughts, I still sometimes get those thoughts, but when I get them, I always say, no, that's not right. I'm not gonna do that. If Dr. Phil is listening to this, I would love to take up his opportunity. I apologize that I declined his offer. I thought that he was going to send me to like Texas or somewhere. And if he wants to put me in an outpatient program somewhere near me, I would definitely appreciate it.